Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take your source material and really distill the most potent nuggets of knowledge. Today, we're embarking on a pretty fascinating deep dive into a collection of profound ideas from one of history's most influential voices on success and motivation, Napoleon Hill. Specifically, we're drawing from his seminal work, Dream Big.
That's right. And, this isn't just one book. It's actually a curated selection of some of Hill's most inspirational, most motivational writings. It includes powerful excerpts from his really famous ones like Think and Grow Rich and The Law of Success.
Okay.
And what's truly remarkable here, I think, is that while the language and the examples, they're very much of his time, right? We're talking writings from nearly 100 years ago, like 1915 to 1937.
Wow, yeah.
But the core ideas, they are remarkably timeless, still hit home today.
Absolutely. So our mission for you today is to extract the practical, time-honored advice. We're looking at topics like finding your definite aim, truly transforming setbacks into advantages, protecting your mind, really important stuff, and overcoming those deeply ingrained, sort of self-defeating attitudes. Think of it as maybe a guide to empowerment, helping you take definite, deliberate steps toward achieving your deepest passions and goals.
Yeah, a roadmap of sorts, built on decades of observation.
Building on that promise of timeless insights, let's start with a provocative one. Hill argues that the very adversity we often dread can, in fact, be our greatest hidden asset. It's about seeing the blessing in disguise.
Right, and what's fascinating here is how Hill illustrates this. He doesn't just state it, he uses these compelling real-world anecdotes. He argues that behind every dark cloud of despair, there's a silver lining, if we only learn how to perceive it.
Okay, so give us an example.
Well, take the story of two business partners. Own the company equally. One, driven by initiative, he manages to sell his stock, gets out. The other, however, finds himself trapped. He can't sell his shares. He's forced by circumstances to retain control.
Okay. Sounds unlucky for him at first.
Exactly. But then, when their disagreement escalates, this unfortunate partner, because he still has control, he votes out his associate and takes the presidency himself. His inability to sell his stock was the pivotal moment. That was the blessing in disguise.
So the very obstacle became the unexpected leverage point. That's a fascinating twist on how we usually think about success.
It absolutely is. Or consider this. A wealthy, young corporation president loses everything in the 1907 Roosevelt panic, trusted his banker too far.
Devastating.
Completely. But this loss forces him back into law practice, and that unexpectedly leads to a big opportunity with a million-dollar corporation. At a salary he previously just dismissed out of hand, his financial ruin literally drove him to greater professional heights. Another one, a young bank clerk. Fired. Why? For drawing cars and mechanical parts during business hours.
Oh, not good.
Seems like it, but 6 months later, he invents an automobile part that makes him a fortune, becomes president of a major auto accessories company, and get this, he even supplies his own clerks with desk pads and pencils for drawing, paying them for new ideas.
Huh. That's brilliant. What consistently stands out to me across these stories is how these, seemingly negative events didn't just hinder progress. They actively forced a shift that opened up entirely new and often far superior paths. It's almost like the universe redirecting them, isn't it?
It's that precise reframing Hill is championing.
Exactly. And it extends even to situations that seem, unfair. John D. Rockefeller once fired a faithful employee, made an unauthorized financial transaction. Now, it actually netted Rockefeller thousands of dollars, but still, rules were rules. Fired.
Harsh.
Seems that way. But this clerk, immediately hired by a rival, handsome salary, eventually held a high official position. And remember that first business partner, the one who lost his presidency. Yeah, the one who got voted out.
Right. Later, he was elected president of a $10 million corporation. Huge potential for wealth from patents, secret processes. His original setback wasn't just a stepping stone. It was crucial to this much larger opportunity.
So if we synthesize all of this, the core insight here isn't just about, gritting your teeth and enduring hardship. It's about actively reframing it, seeing it as a potential strategic advantage.
That's the heart of it.
So for you, our listener, Hill urges us to take an inventory. Look at our own lives, the lives of people we know. You might find evidence of these apparent failures that were, in reality, hidden blessings. He says when you feel discouraged, just remember there's probably a bigger stake awaiting you, maybe in a different game, a different environment. The key isn't passive waiting, though. It's persistent observation and, hanging on.
Hang on. That was his advice. Simple but powerful.
Okay, so from reframing adversity, let's pivot. Let's talk about the driving force that propels us forward: ambition. Hill calls it that determined little slave master that drives success. He links it to titans like Harriman, Rockefeller, Carnegie, Roosevelt,
Yeah.
the big names.
Right. And ambition isn't a standalone quality in his view. He emphasizes it's the mainspring of life, sure, but it needs to be wound up. Self-confidence, that acts as the balance wheel, keeping things steady. And enthusiasm is the oil that keeps the whole human machine running smoothly.
Okay, so a trio then.
Exactly. Without this trio, ambition, enthusiasm, and self-confidence, success is fundamentally uncertain. It's shaky. Hill even shares a deeply personal anecdote. He talks about how one of America's greatest men divorced his first wife because she held back his ambition.
Wow.
Yeah. While his second wife became his chief source of inspiration, he describes his own wife constantly reminding him of his chief aims through letters, always, firing him up with ambition.
That's a powerful statement about the importance of your inner circle, isn't it? It sounds like his personal relationships were deeply intertwined with his professional drive. What happens when that ambition is stifled or maybe even feared by others?
Precisely. He talks about that too. He recounts how he thought he was fixed for life at a $5,000 a year position. Good money back then. But his wife and his ambition sort of collaborated, as he put it, to make him resign for a bigger role, one where he could serve more people.
So they pushed him.
They pushed him, and in his own advertising and salesmanship course, the very first lecture is on the value of ambition, self-confidence, and enthusiasm. He says he uses every ounce of influence to instill this in his students. It's foundational.
And didn't he get fired for being ambitious once?
He did. He frames being discharged from a job because he was too ambitious as the greatest compliment he ever received. Then he contrasts his former employer, who was afraid of ambitious men, company doing maybe $600 a year after 20 years, with a younger firm. This younger firm wasn't afraid of ambition. They were doing $1.5 million a year after just 6 years. Big difference.
That truly flips our common understanding of ambition on its head. So it's not just about cultivating it within yourself, it's about recognizing and even encouraging it in others around you.
Yes. He even talked about when he was an advertising manager, he trained 3 young men specifically for his own job, encouraged their ambition. Why? Because he wanted someone to push him out of the rut and into a bigger position. He saw ambition in others as fuel for his own growth.
That's a very collaborative view. But did Hill ever touch on the potential pitfalls, the darker side of ambition, or was his view purely positive?
Oh, he absolutely addressed that. It raises the important question, is your ambition selfish? And Hill gives a stark warning. Do not let your ambition become a selfish one. That's a direct quote. The greatest object for ambition, he says, is the desire to serve others, not just yourself. He argues ambition is contagious. If you give it to the world will give it back to you in increased measure. But keep it unto yourself, and you will lose it.
Give away to keep it, essentially.
Pretty much. He concludes by stating, ambition is the foundation of, everything progressive. All invention, art, music, industry, commerce, world progress itself. It's a force for good, but only when it's channeled correctly towards service.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit more. Napoleon Hill's insights, they aren't just theory or these anecdotes we've shared, right? He developed his entire system after analyzing, over 10,000 people.
Yeah, 10,000 people earnestly seeking their proper niche, as he put it, a massive undertaking. He even reveals his own turning point. He was working as a $1 a day laborer. No ambition, just getting by. Until a farmer remarked, kind of offhand, "You are a bright boy." Just that. That small spark ignited his first ambition and led directly to his whole personal analysis system.
Amazing how small moments can change everything.
Isn't it? So, he distills his findings from those 10,000 people into 5 fundamental qualities, essentials for success. And he also validated these with another vocational director who'd analyzed 15,000 people. So pretty robust findings.
Okay, what's the first one?
The first is self-confidence. Hill calls it the little glass window to the manpower within your body. It leads to self-discovery, banishing fear. He connects it directly to the birth of huge inventions, the incandescent light, the automobile, the airplane. These all came from individuals who believed in something that seemed impossible to everyone else.
Right.
And he even offers a really practical tip here. He talks about investing in a new suit, good personal appearance. He says it's not a luxury, it's a necessity for self-confidence in business interactions. He proved it with a man he helped get a $3,000 a year job, largely just by improving his presentation, boosting that outward confidence.
So it's not just about an internal belief, but how that belief manifests externally and influences how others see you and how you see yourself. That's a crucial link. And the second quality?
Precisely. The second is enthusiasm. This is the steam which runs the locomotive, as he puts it. It puts that self-confidence into action. Without it, there's little or no action at all. You can have all the confidence in the world, but without enthusiasm.
They're stuck at the station.
Exactly. And it's not something you can easily fake, not genuinely. It usually comes when you find work you truly love. Or, if you're not there yet, by intensely focusing on a definite chief aim for the future. That focus can generate enthusiasm. Hill himself describes working for like 2 nights and 1 day without sleep and with but little food, just completely energized by enthusiasm for his writing.
That's intense dedication. And the third requisite ties directly into the idea of a definite chief aim, doesn't it? Given Hill's emphasis on ambition and enthusiasm, how does this chief aim then connect, or perhaps direct, those other two qualities?
It's the rudder, the compass, the blueprint. The third requisite is a definite working plan, or what he famously calls a chief aim. And this is staggering. 98%, nearly everyone he analyzed had no chief aim in life.
98%.
98%. Yet nearly all of them expected to succeed somehow. He stresses that big positions aren't just found lying around like finding something on a bush. They're built, step by step. Like a skyscraper, he says, with a definite plan from the foundation up.
Okay, so how do you create that plan? Did he give concrete steps?
He did, particularly for acquiring wealth, which was a major focus. He offered 6 very practical steps to transmute the mere desire for riches into reality. First, fix the exact amount of money you desire. Be specific. Second, determine exactly what you intend to give in return for that money, value for value. Third, establish a definite date when you intend to possess it, a deadline. Fourth, create a definite plan for carrying out your desire and begin at once. Action now. Fifth, write it all down. A clear, concise statement. The amount, the time limit, what you give, the plan. And sixth, read this written statement aloud twice daily, before bed, after rising. And as you read, see, feel, and believe yourself already in possession of the money.
That's a very specific, almost ritualistic approach to goal setting. It really underscores the profound psychological commitment required, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It's about building what he calls money consciousness. Saturating your mind with the desire, seeing yourself already there.
What about choosing the right aim? Not just having an aim, but picking the right one for you.
Good point. When selecting a vocation, he warns, don't just choose on a hunch or whim. Be sure you love the work, that you're enthusiastic about it, that you intend to stick with it. Are you educationally prepared? Is it beneficial to humanity? Is it permanent? Will it impair your health? These are key questions to ask.
Right, much more thorough than just what sounds good.
Exactly. Then moving on, the fourth requisite is performing more service than you are actually paid for. He found the majority, maybe 80%, make the mistake of doing only what they're paid for and no more. He warns, quoting Andrew Carnegie, "Watch out for the fellow who does not let his pick hang in the air when the whistle blows." You know, the one who does just enough. It's about consistently giving more value than is expected.
That's certainly a counterintuitive principle in some modern workplaces, especially with terms like quiet quitting being thrown around. So what's the fifth and final key in his system? This seems like a comprehensive list already.
The fifth, and he calls this the great magic key, is concentration. This most wonderful power, he says, is so simple that most people fail to use it effectively. But it unlocks both health and wealth. He points to Carnegie, Rockefeller, Harriman, Morgan, Guggenheim, all accumulated vast fortunes through intense concentration. Now, concentration requires ambition and a strong desire. They fuel it.
So how do you do it? How do you concentrate effectively according to Hill?
First, he says, do away with skepticism. You have to believe it works. Then take a piece of paper. Write down your goal clearly. For example, I am going to become a successful advertising manager. Make it definite. Read this goal aloud for 10 minutes every day, and as you read, visualize yourself already in that successful position. See your loved ones benefiting, see the nest egg growing, the car, the home. Engage your emotions. This combination, the dreamer who visualizes and the doer who acts, creates an almost unstoppable desire. That's the magic key.
Okay, if that dreamer-doer combination is so powerful, then it seems logical that before you can truly embrace it and concentrate effectively, you have to clear out some serious mental clutter first. Hill identifies 3 primary enemies here: indecision, doubt, and fear. He said they're related, right? Indecision crystallizes into doubt, which then subtly blends into fear.
That's the progression he outlines. And he identifies 6 basic fears that he believed afflict almost everyone, often hiding deep in the subconscious. The first one is the fear of poverty. He calls this the most destructive. Why? Because it paralyzes reason, it destroys imagination, it kills self-reliance, undermines enthusiasm, crushes initiative. It's devastating. He believed it grew from mankind's inherited tendency to prey on others financially, sort of an evolutionary hangover. Symptoms. Things like indifference, indecision, doubt, constant worry, overcaution, procrastination. Sound familiar?
Oh, absolutely. That one, the fear of poverty, seems incredibly potent even today, maybe even more so with all the global economic uncertainties. Did Hill offer any specific actionable counters for that pervasive anxiety beyond just hang on or have a chief aim?
Well, the chief aim is a major counter because it gives direction and purpose, which fights the paralysis. But it also ties back to building self-confidence and generating enthusiasm for your plan. Action is the enemy of fear. When you're actively working towards a definite goal you believe in, there's less mental space for that free-floating poverty anxiety. You're building, not just worrying.
Got it. So proactive effort is the antidote. What's the second fear?
The second is the fear of criticism. This one robs initiative, destroys imagination, limits individuality, takes away self-reliance. He saw it rooted in social behaviors, politicians criticizing opponents, manufacturers constantly changing styles just to sell more, keeping people worried about fitting in. Symptoms here include self-consciousness, lack of poise, personality issues, maybe an inferiority complex, extravagance, trying to buy approval, lack of initiative, lack of ambition, and he really condemns parents who build inferiority complexes in their children through unnecessary criticism.
Yeah, that resonates. Constant nitpicking can be crushing. What's number three?
Third is the fear of ill health. This is closely tied to fears of old age and death, and often amplified by economic concerns like, can I afford to be sick? Hill cites a reputable physician who estimated that 75%, three-quarters of patients suffer from hypochondria, imaginary illness.
75%. That's huge.
It is. It highlights the mind's power. Hill even mentions a New York City mayor who stopped newspapers from running scary flu headlines during an epidemic to calm public fear. And he talks about experiments where people were literally made ill purely by suggestion, proving how powerfully the mind can build health or destroy it.
It's astonishing how much our mental state, the stories we tell ourselves, can impact our physical well-being. It almost makes you wonder if every little ache or pain has some psychological component.
It truly is a profound connection he was pointing out, well ahead of his time in some ways. The fourth fear is the fear of loss of love. He called this the most painful of the six, sometimes even leading to insanity. He rooted it partly in historical factors like polygamy, but manifests today mainly as jealousy. Symptoms: obvious jealousy, constant fault-finding with loved ones, even gambling sometimes stemming from a subconscious belief that love can be bought. Insomnia, bad temper.
Okay, that one feels deeply personal. What's the fifth?
Fifth is the fear of old age. This often stems from the fear of poverty and old age, linking back to the first fear. Also, cruel past teachings about aging, the possibility of ill health, and, maybe more subtly, diminishing sex attraction. Symptoms include people consciously slowing down around age 40, believing they're slipping, which kills their initiative, sometimes dressing or acting younger in an insecure way. But Hill strongly asserts that the ages 40 to 60 are actually man's most useful and productive years, bringing wisdom and experience.
So it's often a fear of perception and societal messages, more than the actual reality of aging in that case. And finally, the last of the six basic fears.
The sixth is the fear of death. He considered this potentially the cruelest, especially when linked to certain kinds of religious fanaticism that emphasize punishment or oblivion. Interestingly, he notes that societies sometimes labeled heathen often seemed less afraid of death, perhaps due to different cultural narratives. Hill's own view was that death is likely a mere transition of energy. Since energy cannot be destroyed, only transformed, consciousness likely just changes form. And practically speaking, he observed that a busy person, someone with a burning desire for achievement, seldom has time to sit around working about death. Their focus is firmly on creation and contribution in the here and now.
That makes sense. Keep busy with purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So this raises the big question for all of us listening. How do you protect yourself from these pervasive fears? They seem so common.
Yeah, they really are. Hill's answer comes back to something fundamental. He says you have absolute control over only one thing: your thoughts. This, he says, is your spiritual estate. It's the one domain where you are sovereign.
Your spiritual estate. I like that. So how do you guard it?
He suggests several strategies. First, recognize your own mental laziness, your susceptibility to negative influences. Be honest about it. Then use your willpower consciously to build a wall of immunity around your mind. Keep your mind closed to discouraging people or negative suggestions. Don't let them rent space in your head. Deliberately seek out positive, encouraging company, people who lift you up.
And I like this practical tip you mentioned earlier. Don't expect troubles. As he said, they have a tendency not to disappoint when you anticipate them.
Exactly. Stop inviting them in. He also provides a pretty rigorous self-analysis test, a list of pointed questions designed to help you see yourself as you truly are without flinching. He even suggests answering them aloud, maybe even discussing them with unbiased friends who will tell you the truth.
What kind of questions?
Things like, do you complain often? Do you find fault with other people frequently? Do you actually like your occupation, or are you just enduring it? Are you envious of others? And crucially, do you suffer from any of the 6 basic fears we just discussed? Which ones? How do they affect you? This whole process is designed to reveal hidden weaknesses, the things holding you back, and force you to confront your internal landscape honestly.
That takes courage.
Mm.
And he backs this up with powerful examples, right? People who mastered their minds despite huge negativity.
Absolutely. He gives great examples of mind control in action. Men who controlled their thoughts despite overwhelming negative suggestions. Thomas Edison constantly told the phonograph was impossible. F.W. Woolworth ridiculed for the idea of 5 and 10-cent stores. George Washington facing a vastly superior British force, but holding the vision of victory. Henry Ford told mass-produced cars for the average person was a crazy dream. They succeeded, Hill argues, because they believed and relentlessly directed their thoughts toward their goal, shutting out the doubt. Mind control, in Hill's view, isn't mystical. It's self-discipline. It's habit. It's keeping your mind constantly busy with a definite purpose and a definite plan. It's an active, ongoing process.
Active, not passive.
Okay. So, moving on from fears, Hill identifies another common trait among those who don't succeed. It's the habit of using airtight alibis to explain away their lack of achievement.
Alibis. Excuses, basically.
Excuses, exactly. But often very clever ones, sometimes even seemingly justifiable. But as Hill bluntly puts it, alibis cannot be used for money. The world, he says, ultimately only asks one question. Have you achieved success? It doesn't care about the excuses.
Does he list common alibis?
Oh, yeah. He shares a list of 57 famous alibis, mostly starting with IF. Things like, if I didn't have a wife and family, if I had money, if I could just get a good job, if only I had better health. You get the idea.
You've all heard them. Maybe even used a few.
Probably. But he says the greatest of them all, the master alibi underlying all the others, is this. If I had the courage to see myself as I really am, I would find out what is wrong with me and correct it. Then I might have a chance to profit by my mistakes and learn something from the experience of others.
Wow, that's profound. So it boils down to shifting from external blame or circumstance to radical internal accountability. The alibi isn't just an excuse. It's a fundamental form of self-deception keeping you stuck.
It's exactly that. Alibis are children of his own imagination, as Hill colorfully puts it. They're deeply rooted habits that provide justification for inaction or failure. He quotes Plato. The first and best victory is to conquer self. That's the real battleground. And Elbert Hubbard had a great line about it, too. If used differently, the same time spent making alibis would be sufficient to cure the weakness, then no alibis would be needed. It's about redirecting that wasted mental energy.
Okay, so if alibis are these mental roadblocks, these self-deceptions, what's the antidote? What's the ultimate counterforce to them?
Hill points directly to self-control. He argues you simply cannot be a great leader or a person of significant influence until you master your own negative emotions. Specifically, things like anger, intolerance, cynicism. He says permitting another person to make you angry is basically allowing them to dominate your mental state, to control you.
Giving away your power.
Precisely. To develop self-control, Hill advocates liberal and systematic use of the Golden Rule philosophy. And actively, consciously forgiving those who annoy you or wrong you, let it go. He calls anger a state of insanity, just temporary madness that achieves nothing constructive. The well-balanced person, the person in control, is cool, calculating, deliberate. They focus on building up, not tearing down themselves or others.
And the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. How does he connect that specifically to self-control?
He elaborates that it's based on what he calls the law of retaliation, but maybe better termed the law of reciprocation. What you put out mentally and emotionally, you tend to get back. Even if other people don't immediately reciprocate your kindness or fairness, you still profit. How? Through the positive effect it has on your own subconscious mind, on your own character development. You become a better, more controlled person regardless of external reactions.
That's a crucial distinction. It's not about expecting an immediate external reward, but about who you become internally in the process. Your character, then, is truly your ultimate asset, the thing you build regardless of circumstance.
Exactly. He draws a sharp line between character and reputation. Your reputation is what others think of you. It's largely outside your direct control. Your character, however, is who you fundamentally are, built from your thoughts and your deeds. And that you control completely. Hill states it very strongly. It is as impossible for your character to be destroyed or damaged by anyone except yourself as it is to destroy matter or energy. It's yours alone to build or neglect.
Okay. This deep dive into Napoleon Hill's Dream Big has given us, well, a really powerful blueprint for personal power, hasn't it? We've seen how adversity can actually hide blessings, how ambition fuels incredible progress when channeled correctly, and how those specific requisites, self-confidence, enthusiasm, a definite plan, going the extra mile with service, and intense concentration are truly foundational.
And critically, we've explored how to confront those 6 basic feels that can plague us, and the ubiquitous alibis that tirelessly conspire to hold us back. It really does all circle back to the mastery of your own mind, your own thoughts, that one thing over which you have absolute, undeniable control. Your mind is your spiritual estate, as he called it, and how you cultivate that estate really dictates your earthly destiny, your outcomes.
So for you, our listener, here's a final thought to maybe mull over, something to take away from this. If your mind truly has the power to manifest desired outcomes through focused desire and concentration, as Hill insists, what happens when you fully commit to cultivating a single powerful thought of success, unwavering in its intensity, for the next 5 or maybe even 10 years? What unparalleled story could your human accomplishment tell then?